Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was directed by Peyton Reed and is the third film in the Ant-Man trilogy and the 31st Marvel Cinematic Universe film, the start of Phase 5. If you had told me back in 2008, after watching the first Iron Man movie in theaters, that we were going to get to this movie and what was going to be Phase 5, I wouldn't have believed you. In this movie, Scott Lang and the rest of the family are sucked into the quantum realm after an experiment goes south, and as a result are trapped there along with Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors, who has some nefarious schemes up his sleeve that involve threatening the entire multiverse and destroying the fabric of time, and so they have to figure out a way to stop that from happening. Before we talk a little bit more about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I also want to give a shout out to one partner of this video, someone who I have worked with and I thought it deserved the push, and that is Movie Palette. Movie Palette is an awesome website where you're able to get beautiful artworks that are essentially frames of the movie, which are brought together and their prominent colors are displayed in a bar form, which allows you to bring a lot of color to your walls, and you can choose from a ton of movies available on the website. For my particular taste, I chose the original Lion King for my wall. As you can see over here, you can see every scene of this movie, every major frame of it has been taken apart, and the prominent colors of that have created this wonderful bar effect that really adds to the room. It really has brightened up my wall ever since I got it. But you can choose from all kinds of movies. A lot of films from the IMDb Top 250 are in here. You can choose from all the Star Wars movies, and if there's something in particular that you're looking at from Marvel perspective, you have Marvel movies available here as well, from Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, and etc, etc. And if you go over to moviepalette.com right now, you can use my code LION15 and get 15% off on any product of your choosing from the website. The link to the website is in the description below. Add some color to your walls. Hopefully it looks really great, and I hope you guys enjoy your particular purchase. Let me know what you guys end up getting. Now, without further ado, let's get back to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But I was excited to see Quantumania. I really liked the first Ant-Man movie, and while I didn't particularly love Ant-Man and the Wasp, it was an entertaining enough time, and it's a movie I've seen a couple of times since. It's a fun little caper on its own regard, but this was a grander movie in all sense of the word, and not just because it was just, you know, taking something like Ant-Man and making it an Avengers level movie, but also because you've come to a point now where Ant-Man can move past the palate cleanser stage. One of the things that was there with the first two movies was that they were taking place after these major events. You had Ant-Man 1 take place after Age of Ultron. You had Ant-Man and the Wasp taking place concurrently with Infinity War, but it released after Infinity War and was a much more fun diversion after the devastating events of that movie. In the case of Quantumania, it's starting off Phase 5 of the MCU. It's starting off a whole new thing. And I would say for the most part, Peyton Reed did a good job with this movie. There are things that are issues. There are definitely some imperfections along the way, but it is a mostly fun film that has some really good stuff in it, mostly thanks to, once again, some very good performances from the cast. Paul Rudd is once again fantastic as Scott. I think he's a fantastic pick for Ant-Man, always has been, and he does a great job once again. Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp once again is great. Michelle Pfeiffer, however, is a standout in this film. She gets a lot to do in here, and she does a really great job at it. But I also liked Catherine Newton as Cassie Lang. I thought she did a really good job, and the chemistry with her and Paul Rudd I thought worked pretty well. And Michael Douglas is once again really great as Hank Pym. However, you're really here to talk about Jonathan Majors as Kang, because this is the thing that's been hyping people up the most. And if this movie needs one thing to succeed, it's Kang. We've now seen Kang twice in the MCU. The first time is not exactly him, but if you watched Loki, then you saw the season finale and you saw He Who Remains, and that gave you a bit of a tease into what his character could be. However, you're not seeing He Who Remains when it comes to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This is Kang, and Majors is incredible. He is a fantastic addition to the MCU and a fantastic villain in his own regard. And given what they've tried to set up over here, because eventually, as you know, he's going to be a big threat going forward, They've done an outstanding job making him feel very menacing, very threatening. When he steps into the scene, he has this coldness to him that they captured spectacularly. And Majors is a fantastic actor, and all of that is very much present on the screen. I think they absolutely nailed this casting, and as far as the next big villain goes, I don't think you could have picked anyone better for this, and I can't wait to see what else Kang is going to do. It also leads to some really fun and trippy stuff that happens in the quantum realm, because you're here for pretty much the entire movie, and it's fun to see all the weird stuff that they get up to. There are so many things where it feels like Peyton Reed either A, watched a lot of Rick and Morty, or B, was on some good shit, because there is some crazy stuff that you see in this film. And visually, it looks really, really good. There are some really great special effects on display over here, some really great action sequences that you get as a result of them. The film really nails these things pretty well. And the space opera feel it also has was really, really cool. It definitely feels like it takes a lot from like Star Wars, but like the prequel era especially. Like there are certain scenes that play out as if you pulled them out of something like Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. And so in that regard, if you're fans of the Star Wars prequels, you might find yourself being a little, surprised by some of the imagery that is going to be on display. And I do have to give props to that. I think in that sense, from a technical sense and from like the performances that are there, I think the film lands all of those things as well as it can. And all the stuff that you get in terms of its emotional connections with its characters, there are moments where I thought it could have been a little bit more, but there are a couple of places where it really needed to land. And I thought it did in those moments, and that's what matters. I think at the end of the day, those were the moments where it really needed to work. However, it is not a flawless movie, because the stuff that I've really liked in this film, it comes after a while. The first 35 minutes, though, the first act of this movie, they're frustrating to say the least. There's a lot of stuff that they're setting up, and there's a lot of stuff that as you enter the quantum realm, it feels like very messily cobbled together at times. And it also plays out a lot like a teaser trailer for the movie you're about to see. And not so much for like Phase 5 in general, but like they'll constantly keep building to the fact that Kang is a thing. And obviously every movie like this has this feeling of like, you're building to the big bad. And of course you are. But the film kind of plays its cards way too much with that. It's like, it's something big is coming, something's about to happen. I was like, wait, okay, like, can we see the thing now when we get to it? It also makes some story decisions that I feel like some of them landed, some of them not quite as well. Like, it takes some very, very crazy swings. And there are decisions that it makes that I'm very curious to hear from the fans whenever they see it this opening weekend or in the days to come, what their responses to those things are going to be. Because there are some really, really out there choices that the film makes, especially towards the third act of the film. There is one thing, though, that I did want to quickly mention, which is MODOK. So MODOK is a character that you may know of from the Marvel Comics. Big guy, head-wise, and very tiny body. He's in the movie. Oh boy, I'm very curious to see how people are going to respond to that, because in my humble opinion, I don't think they could have done anything better with it. You'll know what I mean when you end up watching the film. I also wanted to mention that the humor in this movie is much more toned down compared to the first two films. There was a lot more levity to those and a lot more fun in terms of that in those. But in this movie, there's not a lot of that. So make of that what you will. If you're somebody who wanted a lot more humor with an Ant-Man movie as you're used to, then Quantumania might be a little less down for you. But I do think that despite that, it does make way for the ambitious scale that Peyton Reed is going for. And for the most part, I really had a good time watching Quantumania. It has its moments where it could be a lot better. It could have improved a lot, but The thing I can't really go into in a quick social media reaction is, all of this stuff. But overall, despite those flaws, it was a fun time. It's a fun movie that is a very interesting start to Phase 5. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this. It's definitely the beginning of a new dynasty, and I think I'm just more excited for Kang at this point. I can't wait to see more of this character, because he's an awesome casting and they've realized him extremely well. And so I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. I'm looking forward to your reactions as the film opens up and where Phase 5 will eventually lead to and the characters that are in this movie. I'm going to give Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania a 7.5 out of 10. Flawed, but fun. It is a very enjoyable movie. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. I'll have a spoiler review up for Quantumania soon, along with a buddy of mine. We're both talking about it. We're pretty excited. Hopefully it works out in our favor. It'll be up on the channel when it is. You guys are the best, and as always, if you like this, please do subscribe. Thank you very much as always for watching, and I'll see you guys at the movies.